Every year, teams that are in contention try to make a move to get better, and teams that are way out of it try to hawk their expiring contracts to get prospects. Sometimes these deals work out great, other times they flop. Let's look at the 10 best and 10 worst deadline deals of 2023. Let's start with the good ones. Number 10, Jordan Hicks. After spending his whole career in St. Louis, his contract was coming due. The Cardinals were in last place, so they sent him to the Blue Jays. He was already having a good season in St. Louis. 40 games, 8 saves, 3.67 ERA, but he was even better in Toronto. He lowered his ERA by more than a run, appearing in 25 games, saving 4, and posting a 2.63 ERA. The Jays didn't win a playoff game, but he put in one scoreless inning. Number 9, Trent Thornton. He came up in 2019, pitching his first 4 seasons with the Jays, and in 2023, he came up in late June, pitched 4 games, and at the deadline, he went from one wildcard contender to another, the Mariners. Once he got there, he was used in 23 games, putting in 26 innings and giving up 6 runs. That's just a 2.08 ERA. Number 8, Mark Canha. He established himself in Oakland, making his debut in 2015, then signed a 3-year deal with the Mets before 2022. The Mets cleaned house and sent him to the Brewers. He wasn't doing that well with the Mets. 89 games, 6 homers, 245 average, 725 OPS. Exactly a league average player. He turned it on with the Brewers. 50 games, 5 homers, 287 average, and 800 OPS. Milwaukee got swept in the wildcard round, but in Game 2, Canha collected 3 hits. Number 7, Sam Moll. 2022 was his first real season in the majors, and he was good for the A's. He wasn't doing very well in his second season. 45 games, 4.54 ERA, and the A's sent him to the Reds. That's where he came to life. 25 games, 24 2/3 innings, only 2 runs. That's an 0.73 ERA, and he became a high-leverage arm the Reds could rely on. Number 6, Josh Bell. When he signed with the Guardians, he thought he was going to be a middle-of-the-order bat for one of the AL's best teams. Instead, the Guardians went nowhere. He only had 11 home runs in 97 games, hitting .233 with a 7.01 OPS. He was dealt to the Marlins, and he was great. In just 53 games, he matched those 11 home runs, raised his average 37 points to 270, and his OPS over 100 points to 818. The Marlins made the playoffs but only played 2 games, but Bell had 4 hits and 8 at-bats, including 2 doubles in Game 1. Number 5, Jake Burger. In Chicago, he had the power. 25 homers in 88 games. That was good for an 806 OPS, but he was only hitting .214. The White Sox were a mess, so he got sent to the Marlins, and he became a different hitter. His power was a bit down, 9 homers in 53 games, but suddenly he was hitting for average. He turned .214 into .303, raising his OPS to 860. In the playoffs, he got a hit in each game, finishing 2 for 7. Number 4, Paul Sewald. The last couple years, he made a name for himself in Seattle, coming off a season with 20 saves and a .267 ERA. He already had 21 saves in his 45 games, a very solid .293 ERA. The Mariners wanted extra help in the field, so they sent him to Arizona. There, he appeared in 20 games, got 13 saves, and his ERA went up but was still pretty good, finishing his Diamondback season with a .357 ERA. Then came the playoffs, and that's why he's so high on here. In the first 3 rounds, he was masterful. 8 games, 6 saves, no runs allowed. Then came the World Series, and he blew the save in Game 1, and gave up 4 runs to blow open Game 5. That was a sour note, but he was a big reason that Arizona got that far. Number 3, Tommy Pham. He's been bouncing around so much, playing for 7 teams in the last 6 years. He signed a 1-year deal with the Mets, and in 79 games, he was having a nice season. .268 average, 10 homers, 820 OPS, and once the Mets were out of the race, they sent him to Arizona. His regular season wasn't that good. 50 games, average dropped 27 points, OPS dropped 100 points, but he was a key player for Arizona in their World Series run. He was a vital middle-of-the-order bat. He had a 4-hit game against the Dodgers, then another 4-hit game against Texas. He had a home run in each of his last 3 series, but he did have a 3-game stretch without a hit, and that hurt his numbers. Still, .279 average, 772 OPS. Number 2, Justin Verlander. He had such an amazing run in Houston between 2017 and 2022. 2 Cy Young Awards, 2 World Series titles. I know, asterisk on the first one, take it as you will. He went to the Mets in the offseason, but their season was a disaster. Verlander goes back to the Astros, starts 11 games. He's the winning pitcher in 7 of them, averages over 6 innings per start, and posts a .331 ERA. In the playoffs, he was also very good. He shut out the Twins over 6 innings, held the Rangers to 2 runs over 6 2/3, and in his last start, he wasn't as sharp, 4 runs and 5 2/3, but the Astros came back to win that one late. He had a 2.95 ERA in 3 starts. Number 1. Jordan Montgomery. The Rangers saw what he did with the Cardinals after being dealt last year, so when he was available, they jumped on him for their playoff run. He was having a good season up to that point. 21 starts, 121 innings, 3.42 ERA. Once he joined the Rangers, he brought that ERA down under 3, averaging over 6 innings per start. I don't know if the Rangers win the World Series without him. He and Nathan Eovaldi were the pillars of that pitching staff. And he started Game 1 of the Wildcard Series, 7 scoreless, and Game 1 of the ALCS, 6 1/3 scoreless. He had 5 playoff starts, 3 of them were excellent. He was great in his ALCS Game 7 relief appearance, and he finished his playoff run with a 2.90 ERA. He was a vital pickup to make this magical season happen. Now for the bad ones. Number 10, Aaron Civale. Spending his whole career in Cleveland, Civale was having his best season in 2023. 13 starts, 2.34 ERA. The Guardians shipped him off to the Rays, and normally that's where pitchers go to thrive. But in this case, that didn't happen. 10 starts, 45 1/3 innings, 5.36 ERA. That's an ugly line, only giving them 1 quality start, and the worst one was giving up 6 runs to the Angels in just 3 innings. He did not make an appearance in the playoffs. Number 9, Michael Lorenzen. In his first year with the Tigers, Lorenzen made the All-Star team. 18 starts, 3.58 ERA. The Phillies trade for him to shore up their rotation, and in his first start, he goes 8 and gives up 2. And in his first home start, he throws a no-hitter. That was pretty much where the good times ended. He gave up 6 runs in his next start, and it was very rocky after that. He got sent to the bullpen, and in his first appearance, he gave up 4 runs and only got 1 man out. In his 11 games with Philly, he posted a 5.51 ERA. He had 2 playoff appearances, and he was good, but he was used in low-leverage situations. Number 8, Andrew Chafin. He's been one of the league's best bullpen arms, but 2023 wasn't good. After signing with Arizona, he had a 4.19 ERA over 43 games. The Diamondbacks sent him to Milwaukee, and he proceeded to get much worse. 20 games, 17 innings, 5.82 ERA. He did not make a playoff appearance. He had a stretch of 5 games in August where he gave up 7 runs in 2 1/3 innings, and that doomed him. In September, he regained his form, throwing 10 2/3 innings and having a 1.69 ERA. Number 7, Brad Hand. The veteran signed with the Rockies, and he did about as well as you can there. 40 games, 35 1/3 innings, 4.54 ERA. They sent him to the Braves, and that was a bit rough. Whenever you have a relief pitcher, you have to see how many bad games he had, and if that's skewing his ERA. Hand was scoreless in 13 of his 20 starts, but in 5 of those other 7 games, he gave up crooked numbers. His worst game was giving up 4 runs and only getting 1 out in Miami. His Braves ERA ended up at 7.50, and he only put in 2 innings in the playoffs, giving up a home run. Number 6, Lucas Giolito. He got Cy Young votes 3 years in a row, but 2022 was a terrible year, his ERA pushing 5. He rebounded in 2023, making 21 starts and posting a 3.79 ERA. His contract was up, the White Sox were garbage, and he went to the Angels. He made 6 starts and had a 6.89 ERA. That's not good, but he wasn't completely useless. He had 2 quality starts, another 2 that were very close to being quality starts, and 2 that he wishes he could forget. Most notable, the 9 earned runs against the Braves, and then the 5 runs in 5 2/3 against the Phillies. This was his last start with the Angels. They released him. He went to the Guardians, and his first start saw him give up 9 runs in 3 innings. He finished his Guardians tenure with a 7.04 ERA. Number 5, Paul DeJong. In his 7th year with the Cardinals, DeJong was sent to the Blue Jays. He wasn't having a terrible season. He had 13 home runs in 81 games, a 2.33 average and 7.10 OPS. With the Blue Jays, he was pretty much hopeless. 13 games, 44 plate appearances, 3 hits, no walks, 18 strikeouts, and no 68 average. The Jays pulled the plug after just 2 weeks, and DeJong surfaced with the Giants, but not doing much better, only hitting 184 with a 466 OPS. Number 4, Jorge Lopez. The Twins and Marlins were 2 teams in the playoff hunt, and they swapped some very good relievers. Dylan Floro went to the Twins, and he gave them an ERA of 5.29. He was going to make this list, but then I saw he only had a few bad outings, and that's not fair. Lopez wasn't so lucky. He left the Twins with a 5.09 ERA in 37 games. He joins the Marlins, only appears in 12 games, and finishes with a 9.26 ERA. He gave up runs in half those games, giving up 4 and only getting 1 out against Houston, and the Marlins got rid of him at the end of August. He came back to the Orioles for the last month, the team that made him an All-Star, and he came back to earth a bit, just a 5.25 ERA. Number 3, Jack Flaherty. He looked like a star in 2019, but since then, it's been injuries and frustration. With his contract coming due, the Cardinals were way out of the race, so they dealt him in his 4.43 ERA to the Orioles. He came out blazing, giving up 1 run over 6 against the Blue Jays, but it all went downhill from there. He gave up 7 in just 3 innings to the Padres, putting up crooked numbers and only finishing 5 innings twice. In the last 2 weeks, he was pulled from the rotation, making 2 appearances out of the bullpen. In his one playoff appearance, he went 2 innings, gave up a run, 2 hits, and walked 3. His final line with the Orioles: 9 games, 7 starts, 34 2/3 innings, 6.75 ERA. Number 2, C.J. Cron. Coming off an all-star season in 2022, Cron seemed to be thriving in Colorado. But his contract was up, the team was terrible, and the Angels wanted him to make a run. He had an injury-plagued season, only playing 56 games up to that point, hitting 11 homers, batting .260, having a .780 OPS. The Angels probably knew it was a risk, but this did not work out. He only played in 15 games, and in mid-August, he went on the IL. He came back in late September, but just for 1 game. In those 15 games, he had 1 home run, hit .200, and had a .519 OPS. That's just the Angel season in a nutshell. Number 1, Rich Hill. Speaking of risk, the Padres had to know getting a 43-year-old pitcher wasn't a slam dunk. He was healthy this year, making 22 starts with the Pirates, 119 innings. That's an average of more than 5 per game, and he posted a .476 ERA. The Padres got 10 games out of him, but only 5 were starts. The last month, he was moved to the bullpen, and it wasn't hard to see why. In his first start, he went 3 innings and gave up 6. Most of his starts were short and not great. His last start, he didn't even get out of the second and he gave up 6. He ended his Padres tenure with 27 1/3 innings and an .823 ERA. That made him the worst deadline deal of 2023. That's a wrap on this list. Let me know what you think and if there's anyone I missed. I try to track down every move, but it's possible I missed one. So if I did, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. And if you're new here and want to see more content like this, please give me a sub. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.